Yo guys, Visionist Gen here bringing you Marvel Rivals Best Competitive Team Part 13, where we break down the best lineup to be using right now in competitive following the latest Season 2.5 update. This lineup will consist of the best characters in the game right now, which will work alongside one another due to the strengths and weaknesses as well as the team dynamic. I'll explain how to use each of the 6 heroes in this video based on their roles, whilst also identifying what adjustments you'll want to make, when you make them, and why. So on that note, let's get right into it. So as usual, I'll explain how to use each of the 6 heroes in this video based on their roles, whilst also identifying what adjustments you'll want to consider, explaining when you make them and why. And as for the roster itself, I won't be going over a guide as such on all of their individual abilities and how to play them, etc., as I've made guides for most of these heroes separately on my channel. And for the most part, I am assuming that anyone watching this video and learning about the best comp lineups right now following the latest Season 2.5 update is already fully aware of all or most of the heroes in the game and their abilities. Now in this video and going forward, I'm going to try and implement different versions and more unique lineups for the future episodes, which you can try out for yourselves, and hopefully you'll have as much fun as I've had using all of these different heroes in this new update, and especially within these specific lineups. Now, of course, not all of these lineups will work in competitive, depending on your rank, as well as your skill level. You should probably try out some of these team comps and heroes in a more casual environment first, but for this episode to be in place, it's for you to be aware of each of the possible lineups that are both enjoyable and viable in this current meta, but also for me to explain when and why you would use them. And for this lineup, this is a strong comp lineup right now in this current meta, which is going to thrive and is really effective. And if you're one of those players that plays on your own and solo queues and you main a particular hero that I'm going to go over in this video, you will see which heroes it works alongside really, really well and complements one another based on the dynamic strengths and weaknesses and so on. So as for the lineup, as usual, we'll be starting with the tanks, and for this setup we will be using a 2-tank setup in comparison to the episode 12, which used just a single tank setup. Now I personally, as a Vanguard main myself, believe that a 2-tank setup is the best way forward and just works all around with regards to balance. Now for this squad we will be using Penny, Venom, Storm, Hela, Loki and Rocket. Now starting with Penny, she will be the primary tank for the squad, responsible for point pressure, crowd control, counter dive presence and more. Paired alongside Penny is my personal favourite hero in the entire game, Venom, a superior off tank and a high sustain Vanguard who is capable at disrupting enemy backlines really effectively, which complements this team really well as he will significantly delay the pace of the enemy team and make your duelist's lives a lot easier. Trust me, I can vouch for this. I play a lot of Venom and I can tell you now that when I play alongside my friends who play the likes of Hela and Punisher and so on, it makes their lives a lot easier and makes their job far easier and far more enjoyable to do so. Now for me as a Venom player, I actually find that this is a really easy role to play once you just get the general gist on how to sort of dive in and out, keep yourself alive and then get back to your team, to both peel for supporting your team but also to back up for retreat, for heals when needed. Now this, I can assure you, as I said from my own experience, is a really effective setup. These two heroes work really, really well. As for the third hero and the first duelist, we will be using Storm, arguably the best DPS or duelist in the game right now. Storm, as the only aerial presence on the squad, will need to manage staying alive and avoiding being isolated when too high up in the air, but also outlaying a high amount of damage whilst also providing great area of effect damage and movement buffs for the team. Now when combined alongside another high burst DPS such as Hela, this team comp works extremely well. Hela is basically arguably the top DPS in the game right now as well. Following the recent buff, she will be extremely effective at providing range damage, mitigating other aerial threats, and crucial for shutting down over aggressive dive heroes and frontline tanks who have been isolated on your team, and basically allows for you to quickly remove those players and have a numbers advantage. And then as for the first support and the fifth hero for the squad, we will be utilizing Hela's team ability and arguably the best strategist in the game right now, Loki, who will basically be key for ranged healing pools using his clones, whilst also being responsible for that clutch factor with his ultimate ability, which has to be key at countering other defensive ultimates or used offensively to apply point pressure on the objective to win you team fights. Now as for the final hero and the second support, we will be using Rocket, providing damage buffing capabilities with his ultimate ability, whilst also further adding to the clutch factor with his respawn beacon and utilizing the new team ability alongside Penny Parker, which enhances his BRB device, deploying mines and also providing Penny with another trap, which basically deploys the health packs for the squad, giving sort of more armor and extra health for the entire scheme. And together this is a strong healing comp which will work at providing both Penny, Storm and Hela constant individual heals, as well as plenty of sort of range healing for using Rocket for Venom, and also a retreat point for Venom to come back to in the healing pools using Loki's healing with his clones. And then whilst also having that respawn beacon available for anyone if needed, adds sort of more to that clutch factor. And just overall, this is a really good and well structured team. But with a well structured team, you will need to understand your team lineup, the strengths and weaknesses of your team, and also understanding your own counters for your heroes, and also the team ups and all of the meta heroes that you need to understand in this game, which of course is what I'm going over in this video. But also another thing that people just don't seem to sort of excel at is communication. telling your team that you have an ultimate ready, or telling your team that you need heals, or trying to sort of delay team fights and telling people to back up and retreat so that you can coordinate a good team fight if you're sort of staggered. These are all key factors that a lot of players at lower ranks just don't understand. And if you get better at doing these things, you are going to allow you and your team to win you more games and more team fights. Now, another thing is reading between the lines. This is a term I like to use for players who can basically see situations before they evolve, i.e., you load into a game and you see that your team goes to XYZ players, and you can straight away see that there's going to be a flaw in that setup. That is called reading between the lines, and you are picking heroes for certain reasons because your team either lacks it or because your team has a good strength in that area, and therefore you're going to complement those players. These are simple key factors that will help you win games and help you contribute to a structured team and a well-balanced sort of team and dynamic, and help you further win games, just so you guys are aware. Now, as for who to ban, when you would, and why, and with regards to your counters or team strengths and weaknesses, the first hero I would consider banning, as always, usually for all of the videos, for pretty much for the most part in this meta, is Hulk, as he's going to be really annoying at pressuring your supports, being hard to remove due to his evasive and sustain capabilities. But also, removing Hulk just basically means you take away the name or team ability in case the enemy team tries to use him to counter the dive aspect and shut down Venom. I would also consider banning Hawkeye for obvious reasons with the latest buffs, as he will be able to snipe your Storm and your Hela and your other heroes on your team and your supports, so he could be quite an obvious problem to deal with. So I would simply, if you're going to not use him, just maybe consider taking him out of the game. But also, I would consider maybe banning the likes of Winter Soldier, as he's really effective in this current meta, and especially if you're going to use Loki, his clones will basically continuously feed the Winter Soldier ultimate, which therefore means you have a negative impact and you're actually just helping the other team. So maybe consider banning the Winter Soldier if you're going to use Loki, especially if you don't really have someone to deal with the Winter Soldier. And then for the most part, with regards to the adjustments to each of these heroes, when you would make them and why, here is the following. So if Penny is banned, because for the most part in this current meta, she's quite commonly banned. I don't really know why. She is really, really good, don't get me wrong, and I love playing as Penny. I find it a really effective character. But for the most part, I'm not really sure because she can be countered quite easily. But if she is banned for whatever reason, then I would consider using Magneto as the primary tank, as he is a great damage blocker and arguably one of the greatest or best vanguards in the game right now. But also, for the most part, I would maintain Penny if she's not banned, as she works really, really well in this team comp and complements the likes of Venom and so on. However, if Venom isn't working, as he's being isolated due to being the only dive hero on the squad, then maybe change to an off-tank such as Hulk or even Emma Frost for the compatibility with Magneto to overcome this problem. Now, if Storm isn't working or she is banned, I would simply then adjust her to either a dual diving hero, such as maybe even Spider-Man, to join the likes of Venom to be a dual diving comp, or if you change Venom to Hulk, or if Penny is banned, then maybe add Namor into the setup as the counter dive hero for this squad, and also the team up with Hulk, of course. Or if not Spider-Man and you have Magneto and Emma already on the squad, then I would consider adding the likes of Psylocke for a hybrid and dive evasive playstyle, which would be really effective, and especially when paired for the mental projection team ability with the likes of Magneto and Emma Frost, and seeing as she's already a meta DPS currently in this new season update. Now, if Hela isn't working because the other team doesn't have any flyers or has a Groot or a Strange who is just mitigating her damage output really well, then change to the likes of Punisher, who's arguably a top 5 DPS in the game right now as well, following the latest buffs, who also shreds through shields and walls and makes them really basically useless. So he would be a good addition into the lineup if that is the case. Now, as for Loki, if the other team has a Winter Soldier or Loki just isn't effective due to the team being too spread out and his heal's not that effective with the AoE and his clones, then maybe consider changing to the likes of Luna as the primary healer for the squad, seeing as she's pretty much the undeniable best strategist in the entire game right now, following the latest update. And then as for Rocket, if Penny is banned and Rocket just isn't working as he's being dove on, sniped, or not enough healing, then change to the likes of either Invisible Woman and Cloak and Dagger for the better defensive ultimates to win you team fights, as I found this is often the downside to playing Rocket. When the other team has 2 or multiple defensive ultimates, it tends to sort of win and lead the way in terms of sort of team fights and point pressure on the objective and so on. So if this is the case, these would be the adjustments I would recommend. And then as for the team ups of all of the named heroes in this list, here is a quick summary of all of the potential link ups to consider when you're forming your team. So the only ones really for this list, there's not that many, is Penny and Rocket, the new added team up, Loki and Hela, and Hulk and Namor. So in summary, this lineup and team structure initially has a well-balanced setup and a great crowd control and AoE from Storm's passives, Venom's splash damage, Penny's traps and webs, and Loki, of course, with his clones, whilst adding in the new Rocket Network team ability, which improves the respawn beacon and allows for a second chance, further adding to that clutch factor and allowing for risky plays to work out, improving the risk and reward process for this squad. But it's key to understand who you need to change to, when and why, which will be, as I've mentioned in this video, with the adjustments mentioned, you should be able to flexibly alter each of the heroes where required, depending whether your team's finding success off the break or whether or not the other team is just making adjustments to counter this lineup throughout the entire game. So just bear these in mind. And if you notice the other team has a counter comp to your squad based on what I've said, Don't wait the entire game to make these changes. I promise you will struggle. Just make the changes and get them done, because it will really constitute later down the line. And if you guys have enjoyed this video, that's pretty much it for the most part. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know down below if you have any alterations that you would make to this lineup and why. And if you have any cool clips, tips, or tricks that you want to share about being a part of this lineup or these sort of specific comps or using these heroes in general, let me know down below in the comments, as I'm interested to see. I'm Visionist Gen. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.